Hello everyone, my name is Tim Tang with Hughes, and we're coming to you from the NACS 2023 Expo floor. I'm here today with Gray Taylor of Conexxus. Gray, can you just tell us a little bit quickly about your background and what you do for Conexxus?
Sure. My background, I've spent all but 3 years of my life in the convenience store space. It's about 60. With my father starting a convenience store chain. Just a brief detour into commodities trading, and then back into the market where I was in the fuels business and banking business related to convenience. I am Executive Director of Conexxus, and I'm also a consultant to the NACS staff leadership on technology. So we're all about technology, seeing into the future, trying to make sense of the future, but also making sure that things today can connect to each other.
Can you provide your assessment in terms of the state of the union for the convenience store industry?
You know, we're making gobs of money. There's huge margins in gasoline. And that's because we have some pricing power people who have stopped. They used to be the big guys used to come in and undercut the little guys. Now the big guys are saying, well, that was stupid, because all we're doing is shifting volumes back and forth. They're pricing at the market. So it's been a really healthy fuels market there. So we're doing fine. That means I'm paranoid, right? I think that we're going to go through a significant amount of upheaval over the next 15 years. And we've been encouraging people to imagine 10 years ahead what the market's going to look like, what the consumer's going to look like, and work your way back. And how do you get to where you need to be in 10 years? You'll be wrong, but hopefully you're more right than if you didn't pay attention to it at all.
Can you frame that for us a little bit? Where did we come from? Where are we today? And what do you think it's going to be in the near future?
So when my dad got in the business, it was all about grocery stores are closed on Sundays, and during the week they're closed by 7 o'clock at night. So how do you serve that customer with milk, ice, things they need, bread for the next day for school, lunches, and that sort of thing after those hours? So we were filling in a consumer need, shopping need that the grocery stores didn't have to until people became more mobile and convenience became a big thing. That was the 60s, actually 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Towards the end of the 80s, gasoline companies realized how much these other convenience stores were making, and cars were getting so sophisticated that the two-bay concept, they couldn't fix the cars. They were just getting more and more complex. So they started opening up convenience stores. So the 90s, the 10s, and all the way up to today, it's all about transportation, fuel, and convenience stores help us pay the rent. Yeah. But then the big super players like Sheetz, QT, where, hey, C-stores are great, gasoline pays for the rent. So there's two attitudes on this, and that's where I was telling you about the NACS stats, where if you pull profits and operating expenses dedicated to gasoline in their SOI, they said only 20% of the convenience stores would be making money today without gasoline.
Wow.
And so we are just so dependent on this one thing that everybody can agree. At some point in the next, call it 50 years, there is no gasoline and diesel. So what are we doing? We have built our entire real estate infrastructure on providing transportation energy. If the future of transportation energy is electric vehicles or hydrogen, how do we maintain our relevance? Because they're totally two different dynamics, as you know, right? It's like, if I've got an at-home charger, yeah, I'll do some trickle charging out in the wild, but I'm doing most of my charging at home now. If I live in a high-rise, I got to do all of my charging somewhere else. So now we have different customers. They can get their energy from home or might need to get their energy somewhere else. And then they're dwelling there because it takes time. So even a Tesla going into a supercharger you have to sit there for 20 minutes. If you go into a level 2 charger, you may have to sit there for an hour or two to just get 80%. Yeah. The question there is, where we've been trying to get people through the gas station or through the gas pumps as fast as possible, and that's the way we built our stores. They may go in for a Coke, they may go in for something. Now we're sitting there saying, well, how do we keep you entertained for 20 minutes to an hour? Could be an hour. And to me, that you either open up a bar or you start serving people decent food, have clean bathrooms, give them a reason to stay there. And most of them will stay in their cars, but they'll go in, and preliminary data says they're going to spend more money.
Sure.
So that's really our challenge. How do we adapt to that?
with that context, can you comment then on the state of technology in the C-store industry? What are you seeing today?
We are really behind. Okay, I've talked to guys who've moved from the grocery industry over here, and grocery is notoriously skinny margins. And they understand that technology is what makes them money on skinny margins. We have fatter margins, and we haven't learned the hard lesson that technology can make you even more. And so we've got antiquated tech stacks that call the POS really the navel of our universe. And really the navel of the universe is somewhere back in the tech stack. The POS is way too important to what we do. And it's a big, box. And why can't we do what sporting goods stores do? You have a tablet with a card swiper, and tablet breaks, to throw it away because it's only a $400 tablet, and you bring in, another one up. Why don't we have network printers? Why aren't we going to hybrid cloud? Why aren't we going to total cloud? That's a rhetorical question. Yeah. But why aren't we looking at the adjacent markets and replicating what they're doing? Because they're replicating what we do. Yeah. As they get remote order, remote delivery, they're replicating convenience. And we're not going to school on their putt and saying, okay, how can I hit them on their core and base transactions? One of those things is search, online search. Yeah. If you stand out in front of my house and say, where's the nearest convenience store, Walgreens comes up. I got a 7-Eleven between me and the Walgreens. It called it an Exxon station. Again, because we haven't enumerated ourselves in there. So we need to think about, HEB, Kroger, all their locations are on the search pins. We need to start doing that, and it shouldn't be an Exxon station. It should be, I carry Exxon, I'm a 7-Eleven, I have these things, I have an ATM, I have a car wash. Here are the things I have, because we need to prep for the on-the-go customer, which is nobody's going to sit at home on their desktop and ask for a Twinkie to be delivered to their house. Well, very few. But our customers are going to be in their cars going somewhere, and they're going to query their AI assistants. Hey, I need a dozen roses, a car wash, EV charge, and a 6-pack of beer. By brand, six pack of Budweiser. That AI assistant needs to have the information from all the stores along that route, including grocery, dollar, that says, this store 2 miles up ahead gets you close or complete to what your order is, and I'm going to take you there. Would you like to precondition and buy that? Now, what happened in that transaction? Your computer doesn't care if it was XYZ versus YZX. Brand starts to be diminished quite a bit. Yeah. Now the AI assistant will start picking up whether you keep turning into XYZ. They'll start saying, well, the guy prefers this, so they'll start bending the algorithms a little bit. But it's really all about keeping that customer, is about exposing your data to these very powerful online services, and eventually it's going to become another POS for you.
We're moving from the search engine focus to the assistant focus and the guidance focus.
I've found you. Do you have what I want? And are you on the way?
You've laid out a kind of pretty clear map of where we are today and kind of where we need to be. How does the transition unfold? What do you see kind of happening for us to get from here to there?
This is where Conexxus made a big change about 3 years ago. We're big believers in APIs, and we're big believers in data dictionary. One of the historic challenges we have is various vendors that we interact with in our BI stream have different data structures for the same thing. Okay, so by tying that with APIs, and we've pretty much tied all the in-store stuff together with existing standards, now it's about ecosystems. And so I look at the search engine as an ecosystem, just like Tesla is an ecosystem, like DoorDash is an ecosystem. So we're using those APIs with JSON, which is a modern transport and database mechanism, to do what we need to do next. It makes it easier to do. And so in this case, how do I use an API that exposes my inventory to a Google? So that Google doesn't own my inventory, but they can present to the customer what I have, where I am, how much it costs. So that is where a customer can take legacy systems and start exposing that. The other thing to do is to start a migratory approach. Pick a reason to put an edge server in your store. Pick an ROI to make it pay for itself. And then think of that as that's your safe haven, and as things go more to the cloud, I already have the infrastructure. I'm just moving it over, throwing out the hardware, moving it over, throwing out the hardware. And so it becomes migratory. It's not a rip and rebuild type of thing. All of the vendors are moving to cloud and hybrid cloud. It's just preparing yourself to do it, and don't do it for each instance. Buy yourself a big boy box, something that can run Kubernetes. And so you're just adding stuff. This is what Taco Bell's whole strategy is. They've ripped out all the discrete systems, single point of operation, which is an edge server, and everything from IoT, HVAC management, point of sale, all of that stuff now is being run off of one server with a redundancy, and it makes it much easier for them to do CI/CD, drive down new things, working towards a software-defined store. Not having us roll a truck every time we want to do an upgrade.
When we think about the C-store industry, 60% of it is single site owners who have very limited kind of technical wherewithal to do that. With such a fragmented, significant majority, if you will, how do we navigate that? How do we make technology accessible to these smaller operators?
Well, the key is the major oil companies, because of those single site operators, almost all of them are flying a flag. And this is where the major oils have got a big role to play. And if I was a major oil company, I would be considering this. As we move away from my core product, and I'm looking at a four convenience store, four corner, who's going to be the last guy standing on there? The guy with a major oil flag, or the guy with the best overall offer?
Customer experience. And
you want to be the last guy when it comes to your core product, and you want to be positioned with the next product. And so they're making those investments. To me, that's where the major oil companies can legitimize. I'm going to provide more value-added services in the case of technology working together to our stores. And it's not just going to be about me selling more petroleum products. Don't be short-sighted. It's going to be about me making sure that store is profitable enough to be there and be the last man standing if it comes to that. And I'm starting to hear some of the oil companies think in that direction. They're energy companies, they're not oil companies, and they need places to sell the energy.
Interesting.
So spend a little coin, spend a little strategy on keeping those guys healthy, happy, profitable, and so on.
It's not just simply a move from retail petroleum, from petroleum and fuels to electric. It's a move from basically energy into retail.
Into retail, and they could provide all kinds of services. I mean, if they really wanted to take it to the nth degree, they could go to a single site operator and have a way for him to sell stuff online, have a way for him to deliver to Grubhub that's already integrated, have the financial systems in place. All of these things, be seen online. All the things that the big operators are developing and putting out there, the oil companies have the scale to go back and say, I got 10,000 sites. I don't manage them, I don't run them, but I can offer all these services to these guys, and they can choose to use them or not use them.
It's a major oil brand as a platform.
Yes.
Basically all these different categories, a platform for commerce.
Exactly. And unfortunately in the past, the oil companies have really only incented to move more of their products and to run more transactions through their networks. There are so many different points of profitability for these guys. I mean, think about this. Why wouldn't you negotiate on behalf of your 10,000 stores with Oreos to put a promotion out there for the next month? The individual guy can't do that, but somebody with that much scale could go and get some significant deals for their channel.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with selling oil. It has everything to do with making more money. And yeah, sure, get a service fee for doing that.
Well, and the more stable that the entity is, the more likely there's to be around even and to survive to continue distributing all the oil.
Absolutely.
And when you think about the near term, 6, 12 months, are there any particular areas that the industry is underweight, that for a near-term win, for a modest investment, that there should be more focus on?
Well, we worked on the 8112, we being NACS, and my NACS hats. NACS has invested a significant amount of money in the 8112 digital promotions. And to me, that's one of those things that doesn't cost anything. is nothing but upside, because all the Conexxus standards that are in the standard point of sale support 8112s. We've confirmed that through testing. And all you have to do is turn on the switch and you can start taking these digital barcodes that basically sell more product. And the cool thing about it is, out of the 300 billion coupons that are out there, the majority of them are going for center store items in our stores, which we don't take coupons for. So it's going to enhance what our sales turnover is in the center store, profitability therefore, and it's added income. I'm figuring somewhere between $3 to $4 billion if we were fully deployed with 8112s, and it's almost effortless to do it.
We should expect the CPG manufacturers to get more and more elegant in their ability to offer promotions to specific markets, specific individuals, and if we want to participate in that improvement in their own marketing, we're going to need this a similar kind of upgrade.
And the partnership is this, they get more information about me because they're issuing Gray Taylor a promotion. Then they like to know, where did I spend it, how long did I have it in my pocket, and all that. So everybody's learning more about the customer in a non-creepy way. Everybody wins.
This is not just about the C-store industry then. We really need to be paying attention to what the CPG manufacturers are doing in all these other industries. Can you talk a little bit about what you see in the restaurant, and the grocery, and the dollar stores?
Yeah, so Dollar's getting more sophisticated. Dollar's looking more and more like a convenience store and less like an intermediary between Walmart, a small town Walmart. They're putting in beer, they've got cigarettes in. I've even heard that some of them are putting in some fresh stuff as far as food. And they're big, and they're consolidated, 2 chains that comprise most of the market. And then look at drug. CVS, Walgreens, that market is right next to us. They're selling beer, they're selling all the convenience items. And then you look at QSR, they haven't gotten into the convenience business because it doesn't have enough margin, right? They're used to 55% margins, but they're getting really, really good at food delivery. And so, to me, the sweet spot if you're going to compete on food is to get into fast casual. Be fast casual, not QSR. You cannot out McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, okay? But you could out fast casual somebody like Ruby Tuesday or so forth, because you're convenient. And that means a little bit of food theater, a lot of choice for the consumer, not just the Taco Bell model, 4 basic ingredients, 57 products. So I look at that adjacent market as, you've got some cracks there where you can compete. We've got locational advantage over the drugstores. They got great locations, but we got more of them. Dollar stores is going to be a challenge because they're in the sweet spot for us, which is the exurbs, suburbs. And going back to the QSR guys, they have systems that just blow us away. They are doing day part pricing. They're getting into facilities utilization and maximization. So they'll actually run promotions at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because they don't want people coming in at 6 being disappointed. So you give them a hot deal, so they're like, I think I'll go get my dinner now. So they're actually managing that flow. They're doing it through incredibly sophisticated systems and bump bars and all the things that have been around in that industry, which we don't have.
All that translates into an elevated customer expectation in terms of service and their ability to deliver and execute on that. We talked about competitive pressures. Could you also talk about the regulatory changes that you're seeing and paying attention to in terms of what's going to be most meaningfully in terms of impacting the day-to-day operations of the C-store?
Wow. Well, the first one is the headwinds on EV. All right, so you have regulators saying, look, you can't put an EV charger on a gasoline island. Well, to me, you got to go to UL, prove that you can, actually within 25 feet. That's going to keep us from adopting EVs because most of our guys have a very confined, space. The other thing is privacy. As we want to get closer and closer to customers, the privacy laws are saying get further and further away from customers, and we have to be very careful. Just because we can do something, it's creepy to do it. And we don't have, it's like, wow, we can do this, let's do this. We need to think in terms of, you're the customer, how would you feel if you were doing that to yourself? And be honest, right? So computer vision, voice signature, all of those things. Yes, we could track you across the Chinese have proven in their economy that they can track you all the way across the country and even see you in a stadium full of people. That's not what we should be doing. So privacy laws are going to be changing, and we got 47 states with different privacy laws. So which one do you follow?
Yeah.
Right. So I think privacy is going to be one of those things, and with AI coming along, I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger issue as to how much information you get from me and under what circumstances.
I'm going to have to ask now, you brought up the AI word. Where do you see AI in the C-store industry? Where does it help the most?
Right now it's a big shiny object. So large language model, which is ChatGPT, it's generative. That doesn't have much use to us right now, except for searching internal documents. And I'm looking at a use case for that for Conexxus on our data dictionary is how can we use LLM to help a developer use the right data dictionary item when they're writing code. And it's great for if you've got a lot of filing documents, that type of thing. You use it for your library manager. And I've even, we work with some PhDs from UT, and we've run some deals, some ideas by them. And one was deep analytics of T-log data. And one looked back and said, that's not AI, that's deep stats. Yeah. And so you've got to understand what is deep stats versus what is really requires it. Now the generative side of statistics, the forecasting is definitely AI. And so we haven't gotten there yet. And the main reason is don't hire your CSA yet until you have a ton of data and the data consistency is good. Otherwise, you're just having these really smart people go in and shovel through manure to look for stuff, or cleaning the manure. So it's going to be a while for us to take off. Don't get into a rush about it. And the other thing that's developing is companies that do specific things using AI. Instead of going in and saying, let's find this guy let's go to find this environment that does all of it, you're going to go to specific vendors to do a specific task. And that also buys you enough time, because the real key with AI is having people on your staff who understand how AI works, but don't do it, and they're subject matter experts on the business. You cannot rely on a computer scientist from MIT to understand your business. Yeah. He's not going to come up with your queries. You've got to come up with the queries for this person and work very closely with them. So it's a cultural issue. Culture is king. As Vish Ganapathy would say, culture eats technology for lunch.
Yes. Maybe one just last question. Can you speak from a risk management perspective? I heard very little discussion in my conversations with retailers and the like about risks to the business. Things like cybersecurity, for example, don't really seem to come up, or don't even seem to be front of mind. What risks should the C-store operators be thinking about?
Well, pandemics never happen. Oddly enough, we talked about pandemics as one of our risk profiles when I was at a strategy conference meeting with NACS. Everybody laughed about it.
Yeah.
So what is risk? You cannot see, there's tons of risk out there. You just can't discern what that risk is. So data security, okay, we know we're under attack on that. What do we do about that? But long term, you can't live that way. Long term, we have to figure out ways to take the value out of the data. And that's why we got deep at NACS with TrueAge into tokenization.
Yeah.
If it's tokenized, I'll put it up on a billboard. You can't use it, right? But as far as general risk goes, we've got economic, we've got social, we've got all these things. The only thing you can really do to mitigate risk is to have flexible tech platforms, but more importantly, people who can pivot, cultures that can pivot and innovate. And we did a good job of that during the pandemic. But now we was kind of pulling back on the risk horns. We tried all kinds of things, to stay afloat, stay in business. And now we're like, whew, got through it. We were looking at fill rates of 75, 70%, and that was keeping our stores empty. And they were saying, well, what can we do about this? Everybody's serious about it. Now the fill rate's gone back to 95. Everybody's like, whew, we don't have to worry about that. Until the next time.
Wow. Great, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Sure enough, Tim, it's always a pleasure.
Everyone, I've been speaking with Gray Taylor, Executive Director of Conexxus. We're coming to you from the NACS 2023 Expo floor.